Jeff Kassouf, go ahead, my friend.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Emma.
Hey, Jeff.
Wondering, the first half versus the second half there. I mean, obviously, the Dutch were able to get behind a lot there in that first half, especially on their right side. What did you see in terms of what was working for them or maybe what wasn't working for you all? And then obviously you made, the adjustment there at halftime.
I actually made adjustments sooner than that. I thought we started so poorly. We were second to everything. And listen, you have to get the basics right in football. I didn't feel we won our duels anywhere all over the pitch, whether that was from, let me turn this ping off, whether that was, it didn't matter. Even in the corners, they were first to everything. So I think it showed a team that, at the end of a long season and a team that's in the middle of their season, 1. 2, I think there's so much experience in that Dutch team that the connections and the communications they'd had, it was a pretty settled lineup, whereas we've made multiple changes, and I think that showed. Of course, I was disappointed with the way we played in the first half because, listen, if we're not going to be at our best with the ball, we better be our best without it. And I thought we got bullied and harassed, and that frustrated me a little bit. And so that when I got the opportunity to regroup, I just adapted so we could build in a 3 just to buy us a little bit more time and space. They were player for player everywhere. And the Dutch should have been up 2-0 in the first half. Like, we were fortunate to come in at half-time. Made a couple of changes because I wanted to bring Sonnet's leadership back into the back line just to give us the opportunity to be able to get Tierna and Sonnet either side of Naomi in possession. And then Lynn in just to stretch the line out. And we all know Lynn Williams is the best sub in the world. And she came into the game when the team really needed to stretch out a little bit. And I felt like second half, we got our foot stuck in, which for me is like a basic. And so I'm pleased we got that part right. But we also, rode a lot. I'm not sitting here and saying we were the better team, but you can still win football matches and not be at your best. And I thought today we demonstrated by not being at our best, both in and out of possession, but finding a way to win is a sign of a great team.
And just a quick follow-up, farther up the field at the forward line, or at least, in attack. Jaden at the 9 today. We saw Lindsay in that second half pushing high. Just these 2 games as a whole without Mal, Soph, and Trinity. What were you looking from the group, and what did you think you got from them in these 2 games?
Bar Lynn, we ended the game with a 17-year-old as a 10 and 2 19-year-olds left and right. Like, I feel like there has been lost development for less experienced players, and you can sit here and talk about we want to ready players for whenever that might be, but I can assure you I will learn a lot more today against top-class opposition away from home midweek than I will, say, a home game in the sun against someone maybe not at the same level. And I wanted that. I wanted to be brave with the decision-making to end the game with less experience in the front areas to see how they would cope. And, I thought they were tremendous. I thought Ali Centre came in. She's demonstrated in both camps. She's got the qualities. Yasmin Ryan, I think, has had 2 good games. These are players that don't have many caps. So, fair play. I think Alyssa had to bail us out. They had 22 shots to our 5. But I knew this would be the tricky game of the 2, and it played out exactly the way I wanted it to. So I'm really delighted with the team's ability to find a result when we haven't been at our best.
Thanks, Emma.
Meg, go ahead.
Hey, Emma. Speaking of Alyssa, obviously the final game, so I was maybe hoping that you could give us some words on what you have seen from her in terms of what she'll leave this program, and then maybe, I guess, if you view it as a gift maybe that she's retiring right now, and that is going to force your hand in trying to figure out who steps up in her shoes.
I mean, God, we'd be here all night talking about the qualities of Alyssa Nair, both as a human and as a player, and What I did say to her yesterday, in my opinion, she's the greatest goalkeeper this country's ever had, for lots of reasons. And that's not to take anything away from the quality that came before her. But watching how much she's had to go through to get to where she is, and you think about how many years she sat on the bench, or times that she's certainly been written off, she always found another level in herself to keep doing it. And I'm sure maybe she thought she'd retire a little bit sooner, but she found something in herself to want to come back and help us win a gold medal that most people don't really realise what it takes to stay at the top. For her to do it for the number of years she's done it, wow. Like, that's the incredible part. She's been consistent again and again. And even when she's been questioned at times in her career, she's always found an answer. And not only has she been a great player on this programme, but let me tell you, she's so loved by everyone, players and staff alike. She is the best teammate you could ask for. And that just speaks volumes to the person that she is. And yes, there's a big hole, but there's also a big opportunity for the likes of anyone that's within that pool, including the two goalkeepers that are here, and Fallon and Mandy, to Jane, to Casey, to players that are beyond that. Like, there is an opportunity, and we do have to develop the next three goalkeepers, and certainly weigh my way through the pool, and I'm excited for the opportunities that come with them too. And with that definite decision, we will have a new goalkeeper in goal, but I think we will probably have to go through a period of determining who that number one will be, probably over the course of next year. I will have to give players experiences because they don't have them. So,
All right.
excited.
Thanks so much.
Yep, we're going to go to Sylvia, and the last question of the year, we'll go to Steph. Go ahead, Sylvia.
Thank you. Congrats on the win, Emma. Just wanted to delve a bit further, and to the best of your ability, I know you don't like to give everything away. What were the tactical challenges you were looking for from both England and the Netherlands? And then sort of what different challenges were you looking for them to present beyond the atmosphere? Thank you.
Well, you're playing against top-class opposition that you're in their homes. So that in itself, this is not a neutral venue like the Olympics. So they've got the crowd on their side. They've got two established teams that can flexibly move between situations. England sometimes build in a back four, sometimes in a three. Same with the Netherlands. So you have to learn so much detail, and trust me, if you ask some of these players that are new to this environment what that level really requires internationally, they certainly know that as a result of this camp, because against the best players in the world, and it certainly showed tonight, if you start jumping out in the wrong moments, they just pop the ball round you because they're so good at it. So I think developing a better defensive understanding of what we expect, but also giving them you have to give them the time to go and experiment with it. Know that there's going to be many moments it fails, because it actually takes time to get those things right. So I think that's one thing. The second is, how can we control games? And I thought we did that at Wembley. I didn't think we did it tonight, but I think the difference between Wembley and tonight, obviously with different opponents, is we played an extremely aggressive back-pressing team that went man-for-man everywhere. And I know this from playing many man-for-man teams. We did it with Brazil in the final. It's really hard to build up when teams are man-for-man because there's no spare player except your goalkeeper. So for us, our next steps have got to be, well, if our goalkeeper's our spare player, how are we going to best utilise that without putting balls in the air for a percentage game? Think tactically. What other things? Set pieces. Defensively, first off, I didn't think we did very well in this game, but both sides of the ball were still very new to working with Gianni, so trying to further embed those principles. But for me, the most important thing was giving exposures to players. And like I'll say, I've been coaching 25 years. The minute you start chopping and changing the team, the harder it is for you to carry out what you want. but I want to see the players. I don't want to sit there and just say, oh, I'm going to put all my experienced players on, develop the connections and the combinations for that now, and I don't get to see an Ali Centner or a Hal Hirschfeld or an Alyssa Thompson or a Yasmin Ryan, etc. Like I want to see where they really are at this level to know once we get into the new year and into She Believes, what will be our core group sort of going forward. And I owe it to the entire playing pool to look at everyone.
Last one, Steph Young, go ahead.
Thanks, Hi. Coach, congrats on the win. You mentioned wanting to find more information, look at the different combinations. You mentioned how Hirschfeld, just having seen the game, Corbin and Lindsay are more known quantities, at least than Hal. And then looking at, how they had trouble with the progression, as you mentioned, players were having trouble getting to the ball first. I'm just wondering, what you see as your next steps. Is it about, you're still in the information gathering mode, like you mentioned, She Believes. And then other than Lily Johannes getting time, all our teammates always mention how mature she is as a player for her age. She got some, some boos, some whistles from the crowd to be expected. I'm just wondering your evaluation of how she handled that mental, emotional side of it tonight.
Yeah, I think she handled that really well. Look, she's been put in a situation, and I've intentionally put her in that situation because I think it will help her down the road. But I think everybody has to proceed with caution with not just the likes of Lily, but lots of players that haven't had the experience at this level. What I am building a picture on is if you've got, I don't know, a wheel of 10 things attributes you have to perform at the top level, we're trying to determine, okay, if player A is really, really strong in this area, but not in that, how are we going to help develop that? Because at the international level, you have to be good both sides of the ball. You have to play without it for stretches of the game and be patient in your defending, but when you get it, you have to be savvy enough and technical enough to keep the ball, but also as a team you've got to be clinical enough. You don't get multiple chances at the top level. You get like what we get tonight, two situations potentially, and you have to be clinical with them. So I'm learning, and I think, and I said it to my Dutch counterpart, he's been in that job for, I don't know, how long has he been in there?
A while, yeah. He was,
And he knows his players inside and out. Like, I learned a lot about the players in the last 2 games for me to know where they fall short and how we need to help them get to the next step. And that falling short is just inexperience sometimes. And for some they've not had maybe a tactical teaching in the same way, or the demands that we're asking for them. So we have to be patient with them and give them time. And I want to do that. Like, we're not competing to win a World Cup tomorrow, but we have to develop players and give them experiences, and I will not shift from that.
All right, that's a great way to end it. Happy holidays, happy New Year, everybody.
Happy holidays, guys.
We'll talk to you in 2025.